Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Welcome to the House of Burton, the latest entry in the Houselights series here on the Nerd Party Network. This week, we're continuing our series on the directed works of Tim Burton in the 1990s with 1996's Mars Attacks. I'm Darren Moser, and am joined by my friends, the Martian Ambassador, Tristan Riddell, and new recruit, Billy John Mills. Gentlemen, it's time to fire up the red and green lasers and dive into this smattering of stars that are in this constellation of a film.
Smattering of stars. You couldn't possibly throw a dart and not hit somebody who's a top level name in this movie. It's pretty crazy.
I think my favorite note on screen time is Danny DeVito, who I think, even though he's super high build, has a minute 50 of screen time.
Is it that much?
It's so little. It's so little.
Yeah.
But hey, it's there's Danny DeVito, and there's everybody was in this film.
Yes, indeed. Everybody and a half, and even Frank Welker returns. Who we spoke about during Miyazaki.
That's right.
He did. He did the voice of the aliens and the wind. He did the voice of the wind back in one of the Miyazaki movies.
And I don't remember that in the least.
No, that was the joke. We were making the joke.
Yeah.
Frank Welker.
What?
Yeah.
I took you so seriously. I was just like, did they have a guy just kind of go?
I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, we laugh, but probably he was. It's like Andy Serkis nowadays, where he does a lot of vocal roles.
Yeah, that's good. Yep, that's spot
Whenever
on.
you see a CGI character, it's Andy Serkis.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this film was a little bit different of a note after Ed Wood. Just a hair.
A little bit more happened in this movie than in Ed Wood. Just a little bit more happened.
A little bit. Martians came, they attacked, killed everybody pretty much, and
but the thing is, I see this, especially on this revisit, as a very natural extension of Ed Wood. This movie makes sense to come afterward. This is basically Tim Burton's Plan 9 from Outer Space.
It's his B movie.
Yeah. And
that's a really good point.
How successful is it is, I think, going to be a really interesting piece of the conversation that we're going to have over the.
Well, Darren and I were talking before we hit record, and we kept saying that we needed to save it for the show. But the premise of the movie, there's so many people. If you look at the ratings on Letterboxd, it's all over the place. Where people say oh, this is genius, this is so great. Other people saying I didn't get it. Why do people like this? And one big reason of that is if you don't get that this is post Ed Wood, that this is his version of Plan 9, and that this is an homage to 1950s and 1960s B sci-fi movies, then you're not going to enjoy the ride, and you're going to think it's crap.
However, as a counterpoint to that, what I would offer is that, and I believe I'm borrowing your own line, that if you make a bad movie on purpose, it's still a bad movie. So I could completely understand why somebody would look at this and say...
That was your line, Tristan.
And somebody could easily look at this and say, this is sort of like a punchline without setup.
I want to argue that, but give me time.
Well, the other thing we were kind of mentioning, similar to what Tristan said, was... It's definitely about buy-in. If you can put yourself in that right mood of it's a popcorn movie, it's one of those it's a Mad, Mad, Mad World or Rat Race, or the kind of movies where there's just a shotgun of stars thrown at it and you're just buckling in for a fun time. Not I don't think this is the kind of movie that is meant to be analyzed in the deepest of ways. But if you're
thanks,
ready,
everybody, have a good night. Make sure to go to the nerdparty.com.
But that's exactly what we're going to do.
Yeah,
because we're crazy. But no, I think if you're in the right mindset, then that is definitely going to increase your enjoyment. Whether that mindset alone is enough to make it a good movie, we'll find out after our discussion. See, that's the hook, Tristan. That's why people want to keep listening.
Sorry. I should have had more faith in
you.
But yeah, so this story was based off of the Topps bubblegum cards from the late 40s, and I actually looked up the cards because I was curious about it. So it was an original run of like 55 cards, and they had, little images on them. I mean, very faithfully, they drew from those cards. The Martians look exactly like it. They have the giant walking robot with the pincers. They go into a bunch of like atomic age giant bugs and things, which I'm kind of glad we didn't. But it was very similar in style. Although I did hear that one of the writers for this script didn't realize there was a story on the back of the cards, like until after he had written the script. So there's nothing to do with the story. Except for the fact that Mars attacks. But that's where the similarities begin and end. But
okay. So when I first saw this and it said based on the characters from Topps, I was like, wait, like that can't be the same company.
Yep.
And when I found out that it was, I started thinking, I keep trying to think of
we roll our eyes at comic book movies that go to film. This is
this is crazy. Like I'm trying to think of other movies that have been made off of crazier source material.
You mean like
wait?
You mean like a movie called Battleship that is inspired by?
That's immediately the first thing that comes to mind. I think of like board games like Clue and Battleship and things like that. Like at least Clue inherently has a story. With Battleship,
yes,
like there's stuff like that, and then you have like video game movies, and like now there's like movies that are based off of a tweet. Although that's not really fair because like you can throw a concept out there.
There was that tag game movie that was based off of a game of tag that 3 men played or something over decades.
That's true.
But yeah, no, so
like this has to take the cake is all I'm saying. Like this has to take the cake. But I'd love to hear from you guys, the listeners, if there's anything crazier that you guys can think of. Go to thenerdparty.com/contact.
I'm curious too.
Select Houselights, fill out the form, send us an email. We want to hear. And also, like if you have a director that you would like us to touch on in the future, please let us know.
Yeah, I think that what's important to note here, though, is that this is not, even though it winds up becoming Burton's baby, the development for this goes all the way back to Orion Films and TriStar. Yeah, back in
maker
the 80s.
of RoboCop, maker of lots of things.
And it was
I can see the logo in my head.
It was put in turnaround. And so basically this sat
the
in
international sign
now.
of the donut. Sorry.
Right. Yeah.
We're totally interrupting you, John. Sorry.
No. Like it's a movie that got put into turnaround and then it comes across Burton's desk and as we keep talking about, once you direct Batman, and even though Batman Returns, we might not have loved or anything, he's
still made a ton of money.
Huge blockbuster movies. And so, and Ed Wood, even though it's a financial disaster, brings prestige to the studio because it's Oscar winner.
That's
Ed
true.
Wood.
That is true.
And so he's still got all of this clout and he decides to spend it. It's really interesting because this 90s Burton journey is very much a lesson in somebody spending their political capital.
That's a really good way of putting it.
And it's just, I remember I know I'm the old man. I saw this in the movie theater. I highly doubt either one of you did. Okay, here we go. I can tell you, I remember the movie theater I saw this in. I remember who I saw it with. I remember getting the joke at the time and saying, oh, that was cute. And my friend Joey, who I throw under the bus regularly on any podcast I'm on, hated this movie. I can't tell you how much he hated it. You want to talk about disparate reactions. Like it was one of those things where eventually my arguments with Joey fortunately evolved to the point where I would just say to him, I didn't make money on it. I don't care. It's fine. All right. Hate it. I don't care. And it's just weird because it was divisive from the beginning. And looking at it now, I don't get why somebody would spend their political capital to make something that would be that much of an in-joke. That would be that much of a thing where you would have to really get it. Like he could have made just a little bit more effort to make this more accessible to people and to give it something for the average, for Joe moviegoer to plug into. And I don't know if that's a failing of the movie or a failing of Burton not to take that extra step and say, okay, I've got all of these gags that I love. Now let's refine it so that it's at least, a little bit more cohesive. And then also viewing it in the context of the fact that what year was Independence Day released?
Same year.
Yeah, same year.
Yeah.
It's a fascinating flip side of that coin.
Well, and Independence Day actually kind of hurt Mars Attacks because they pushed up the release date. This was originally supposed to be, I think, a summer 97 release, which I think it would have done probably much better at. But then we have summer 96, you have Independence Day. And so I don't know, to capitalize on alien fever, I don't know. The studio pushed it forward so this finished shooting in November 96 and it released in December 96.
What?
So I give Burton a tiny bit of credit on the fact that it probably wasn't his total vision of whatever he was trying to do because of the time crunch. Like he lost like possible? 3 or 4. I don't know. I mean,
legitimately, like, how is that even physically possible to edit and do post-production, like, and do all your special effects and everything like that in 2 months?
Maybe I'm misstating. It may not have been end of shooting, but it might have been like end of like principal, like everything, like it's wrapping up, but it still was like,
even then
they didn't have a long time to really wrap it up in the way I think he wanted to.
Damn.
Well, that would follow the pattern, which is unfortunate for something like The Last Action Hero, which a few years before was pushed up because they wanted competition with Jurassic Park, and that's why that movie but that's why that movie very famously has a lot of incomplete effects shots and a lot of inconsistencies, and like McTiernan, basically his career got wrecked after that. Like he took such a huge hit to his rep, and they made him the fall guy for the failure as it was. Because how do you release an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie at the height of that guy's powers and not have a hit? But it's like you literally picked the one fight you should have walked away from.
Yeah.
Good.
I mean,
Lord.
nobody knows. It's like, they're going to make a dinosaur movie. How's that going to work out? But it's like, I'm just like, you don't go toe to toe with Spielberg and you blink. Yeah.
Now I will say that in terms of the photography and everything, it is Peter Sushitsky who did he was the DP for The Empire Strikes Back, beloved nerd film, talked about many times on the Nerd Party and in pretty much any other podcast that's out there. So, Burton definitely had an assist with somebody who knew how to light for effects that were going to be added later.
And talking on the effects, probably helped. I know that Burton, wanted to do a kind of Ray Harryhausen-esque stop motion effect for the Martians and have them look again. He was trying to make a bad looking film on purpose, and for budgetary reasons, I think it would have pushed the budget from 70 million to like 100 million. And they're like, no, we can't spend that kind of money. So they reined him in and said, like, you have to do CGI. And I think they do smart CGI. Like the ships, they're in bright desert sun, everything is, everything's like in either bright light or in shadow. Like I think it ends up working fairly well with mid 90s CGI at the time. And even if it does look a little fake, it kind of, the stilted motion of the Martian, like they don't have a fluidity, they have, and it works. At least I think
I like
so.
seeing Lisa Marie, like, like when she was kind of floating and like walking her hands, right, like Saru from Discovery. And then when his back is turned, like she
like
kind of
hunch
and hunches over and then like quickly
up.
moves like one of those Martian. I really enjoyed that little detail.
Well, if I recall correctly, and I haven't confirmed this, but I seem to recall from at the time that they said that there was actually like a little miniature bicycle type of thing underneath.
So I was watching closely, And I think there was just a plank with wheels on it because you could kind of see the front edge of it when she's outside. And I think they were just pulling it because that's the thing is she's doing that kind of walk, but it isn't timing with the speed that she is traveling. So it looks surreal. And I think they were just dragging her on a board with wheels or something like that. It just adds to the otherworldliness of the character. But I think it plays off really well. And she's, chewing her gum and
the
thing
that plays really, really well is anybody who grew up in the DC metro area and spent any time going around and about the city. We knew it was, and there was a little chuckle that ran through the audience where there's one specific scene, and there are probably a couple others, but there's one specific scene when Martin Short pulls up in his limo to talk to the prostitutes. There's a tag, a graffiti tag in the back, Cool Disco Dan. If you grew up in the DC metro area, you knew Cool Disco Dan. Like that was the stamp of authenticity right there, where it was like, oh yeah, you actually shot this on location. That's not a faked out street corner. That's awesome. Or they did their homework really well. But no, that street corner was legit. So the whole audience gave a little chuckle at that street corner shot.
Oh, that's a cool moment.
Yeah. Well, it's always nice to have it look actually be in the city it's supposed to. So
it's kind of like when this is a bit of a tangent, but I remember when I went to go see the Dark Knight with my wife, and when he's on the Bat Pod and he goes through the little he goes through a train station, but we don't know it's a train station, and Sarah shouts almost in the middle of the theater, "Cinnabon!" Like because like we've been to that Cinnabon before in the train station.
That's awesome.
That's right, because it's Chicago that it was filmed in, right?
Yeah,
Gotham if you want. I call it either way.
Now, Tristan, when was the first time you saw Mars Attacks? Was it did you sneak in '96, or was this a blockbuster movie view like it was for me?
No, this is I saw Independence Day in the theater this year.
I did too.
And that was a big deal to see the theater because every year on my birthday, I was born on July 5th. And so every year on the 4th or that weekend, we would go see a movie. That would be my quote unquote birthday movie, and Independence Day was that. And then and we had a blast, of course. It was great. And then when you started seeing advertisements for Mars Attacks, my parents asked me, they're like, "Oh, do you want to see that too? Like it's aliens, it's Burton." And when I saw the trailer, I was just kind of like, "Nah, I'm good. I'm cool."
But it's aliens and it's Burton. That's what the kids
For some reason, it just wasn't jiving with me. And then I saw it, and I cannot for the life of me remember how I saw it. It had to have been on TV because I have no memory of getting this at Blockbuster or seeing it at a friend's house or anything like that. It had to have been on TV. And I was not impressed when I watched it on TV. Good Lord. Like, I thought it was horrible. Like, I didn't laugh at all. I didn't understand why Jack Nicholson played two parts. I was wondering if they were trying to say that the president had a double life. I had no idea what was going on. And I kept wondering why Pierce Brosnan and Sarah Jessica Parker were in the same shot 3 or 4 times throughout the entire movie. Like, she's on the table on the dog's body, and he's just hanging there, and it's literally the same shot that they used 4 times throughout several parts of the movie. And I was just like, why do we keep going back here? Isn't it days later? But yeah, it just was. I was not in tune with it, and then I never watched it again. Until last night.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it a heck of a lot more than I did.
Now a seasoned viewer of films.
A seasoned viewer of the film. I can really appreciate it. Actually, no, to get right down to it, I think I've been so disappointed with 90s Burton that when I got to this one, I was just like, oh, okay, this one's not terrible. Okay.
What? Wow, this one's not terrible. Last week we had Darren's review of This Is a Thing I Didn't See Before, and now we have, it's not terrible. Burton's just really racking up the wins on this series.
You know, we're gonna screen our series a little more as going forward. But thinking back on it now, because I looked up, I would have been, because I remember seeing Independence Day in theaters, and so I actually think I probably did see Mars Attacks in theaters, because it probably, like, the poster is really cool. It's just like a little sea of aliens in the foreground, and again, it's got a million names. I'm glad it was back in the era of kind of stylized posters versus the let's put every character in this in a group shot poster, because that's what they would have done if this came out nowadays. It would have every star jammed into the frame, maybe with like a shadow of a Martian in the middle or something like that.
Yeah,
but
everything looks like a Star Wars poster.
Yeah, or Lord of the Rings poster, or a Marvel poster. It's just
Marvel posters are yes.
Everything looks like they're like Thor. But all that to say is, I don't remember that experience in '96, but I probably did watch it, and probably also rented it a couple times, on VHS from Blockbuster. And this movie's always been a guilty pleasure. It's I don't have to tune up my brain into the plot. I'm trying to remember when I realized that was Jack Nicholson in the casino role, because I don't think I picked up on that the first time. It was so different, and he's always in glasses and his hat and sideburns. Although I think his portrayal as the president that's the Joker. That's the Joker giving his speech in Batman.
Okay, right. That has to be a callback.
Yeah.
Like, it's during his first speech, it has to be a callback. My
fellow Americans, it's like, wow, like that, you sound just like that character.
Even the way that he's positioned, the way that he's sitting, the way that the camera is framed. John, right? It has to be a callback.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. It's unquestionably a callback. You've got Burton working with Nicholson for that scene. They definitely decided to have a little fun with it, but it is. What's really interesting to me watching this is that the treatment of the aliens arriving is remarkably similar to Independence Day. And
that is true.
The treatment of those who would rush out to hold up signs in hopes of intergalactic peace is remarkably similar to what happens to them in Independence Day. But what's really, really interesting to me is the cynical sensibilities behind politics in general for the sake of this movie. And what I mean in specific is that the presidency,
it's a joke.
In the 90s, it was very apparent that wherever the polls pointed, the president would go. And there's got to be commentary, like that's baked in commentary. And it's one of those things where I think it sort of backfires in a sense, because Rod Steiger is supposed to be playing an out of control madman general. But when you watch
intellectuals,
he sounds the most like on point in all the characters. Like,
right,
he's got his head on straight.
And meanwhile, the president is sitting there saying, "Oh, well, let's have a joint session of Congress and let's have negotiate like afterwards."
I mean, I like the part where they blew up Congress. That was fun.
Another thing that happens in Independence Day.
Sylvia Sidney, Grandma, laughing and saying that they blew up Congress.
That's
is
like
one of the
line.
best things in the movie. That's the line in the movie.
Yeah.
And like her voice is
Congress.
amazing anyway. Yeah. Like I loved her in Beetlejuice. I always think of her in Beetlejuice whenever I see her.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. I had forgotten she was in Beetlejuice. Now I see her again. That's right. Because this really
is the social worker.
Yeah. This really
good
is
thing you didn't die in Italy.
Yeah.
Good pizzas.
No, this is definitely a tour of Burton's past casting stuff. I mean, even Annette Bening being in, we had talked about how she was under consideration for Catwoman. So it's like, well, there you go.
When I saw her, I was just like, oh, maybe this is like they say, like, hey, we couldn't work together in Returns. Maybe we can do this together.
Yeah, the casting that doesn't, the casting that's bizarre to me, and stuff like this really gets under my skin, regardless of what the circumstance is that you have all of these actors, and I know who these actors are, and we're not really going for Oscar level performances on purpose, what have you. But I'm still asked to suspend my disbelief at least a little bit to go along with, with Jim Brown being an ex-boxer, with Annette Bening being this person, with Jack Nicholson being the president. And then you have Tom Jones playing Tom Jones, and it sort of shatters the whole gag, where it just falls flat for, like, he should have had a different name or something instead of playing himself, because when he's playing himself, that's where it's really collapsing the whole reality versus fiction gag that's going on with the actors here.
If he was an actor, I think I would agree with you, but because he's such a famous singer, it's not like in Ocean's 12 where Julia Roberts is playing.
Do we
Julia
have to
Roberts.
talk about Ocean's 12? I don't want to talk about Ocean's 12.
Yeah,
okay?
I will grant you that it's not as bad as that. That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Well, and we get Jack Black as one of his very early roles. I can't remember if this is his first one.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
Relatively speaking, yes.
Yes.
As Billy Glenn Norris. So yeah, it was, and then like the pacing of the film is interesting because there's like four little families that were kind of circling around. We have the president's family with Natalie Portman, pre episode 1. We have the love triangle of the reporters and Kessler. We have the casino, where they're all running around with also Jack Nicholson again, and the Williams family with the mom dragging her kids back into the bus and everybody cheering.
That was hilarious. I love that the people on the bus started
just
clapping.
Yay!
Because they didn't care at all that they were being stalled from their destination because she was being a good mom.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, 96 pre-cell phone, so they didn't have anything to do on the bus besides watch what was going on. So
that's a good point.
Game Boys, man.
But this is the thing, right? Is I struggle with this one because it's not something that I dislike per se, but it's not something that I think is particularly successful in what it's trying to achieve. And it's one of those things where it winds up being a disappointment because I know what he's trying to do, but they make no effort to really have these things mesh as well as they should. It's more a series of vignettes than it is a story. It is
more vignette based. Yeah, that is true.
Absolutely. No, I think I think that's probably my biggest criticism of the film is that, like, as I was watching it, I was like, why did they have this scene? Like, why did Danny DeVito exist in this movie?
Right.
Like when I think when I saw that, I was just, I mean, it happened a lot, but like when I saw that, it really hit home where I was just like, this is just a series of events. Yeah. And it's not a cohesive story. There's not
and the fact that he was a lawyer, narrative. It made me think, like, is this a continuation of Rainmaker? Is this,
Oh wow!
Yeah, only for a moment.
So this
only
is in Rainmaker continuity.
The Rainmaker verse.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think he was also a last minute drop in. I think that's too much star power for that tiny of a role. It does pull you out of it.
And he's on the freaking poster.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and then again, we are drawn to comparing it with Independence Day, which also has several storylines going on. You have the president, you have, Jeff Goldblum and all these other kids, but they are drawn together in the conclusion. They converge and weave together. Whereas this, like, I mean, the fact that, the Midwest family with the music that saves the day, meets the president's daughter, like, I guess that's a convergence, but not really. It's just,
And I love that the first daughter like is in charge.
Yeah. She's like, my parents can't be here, but here's a medal as this mariachi band that's all we had left plays the American theme. Again, it's ridiculous, but it's supposed to be. So it's funny.
By the way, as a follow-up, and this is a production note that I find very interesting, is last time we were talking about Ed Wood and we didn't quite get, well, why wasn't it Danny Elfman this time? Well, it turns out, okay, first and foremost, I think that this score does support your point, Tristan, that Danny Elfman should have done Ed Wood. This is Ed Wood music, and I'm like, okay, yeah, he totally would have nailed that score and it would have been fantastic. But in doing some, a little bit of reading, apparently the reason he didn't work on Ed Wood is because Elfman and Burton had a fight during The Nightmare Before Christmas. And that's why he didn't do Ed Wood. But then they reconciled, and that's why he came back for Mars Attacks.
Interesting. I'd love to know about what that fight was, because there was a lot of contention with Night Before Christmas. Yeah. And so I would love to see which fight it was.
Yeah, I don't know. I've just it's a passing note on the Wikipedia page, and I was like, oh,
interesting.
Yeah,
no, that's cool to know, because we're like right when this movie starts, you hear the music and you see the flying saucers, and you're just like, this fits, like this feels right. Like this is cool.
What's so interesting though is looking back at the effects and just thinking in terms of they weren't even particularly great for mid-90s in terms of fooling the audience, but it really does benefit from knowing that the movie is a gag and is in that not completely realistic. They're not trying to achieve something that other movies would have gotten slaughtered for, missing the ball.
Well, again, same effects level technology existed as Independence Day, which looks, which is going for the now I want to cut and edit where the Mars Attacks music is playing at the beginning of Independence Day, where the saucers are coming down.
I'm down with that.
And I'd love a scene where, like with Brent Spiner.
Oh no!
Where instead of just like no peace, it's just.
It's like, we come in peace. We come in peace. Now, then I could do the reverse, where it's the Mars Attack ships, but it's the Independence Day, like ba 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 ba.
Well, I think you've given yourself something to do.
I don't have time to do all this editing, guys. This is too fun. But no, let's talk about the score a bit. I think Elfman did a great job. It's catchy. It's B movie. It's fun. I fits it again. I love the opening credits the most. It's so catchy and so it gets you jazzed. Like, okay, here we go. Like, and the titles are like that weird, like Vistascope spin.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, that's why I give a lot of leeway to this film, I think, because from the get-go, I mean, they're even having fun with the Columbia logo, where the little Martian ship flies in the background.
Warner Brothers.
So that's it. So it's like from the first frame, they're saying this is a B movie. Like that is what we're going for. It's buckle up, and then you're going to see Danny DeVito, and it's going to all be crazy. So
I almost wonder though if they're like, okay, this movie doesn't get made in the 90s, it gets made today. I really have a feeling that there is some alternate reality where this movie is made and it fully embraces everything, and it's black and white, and it's shot in that, and the aspect ratio echoes that. It really, I think what makes this a difficult gag, as it were, is that it is existing with the ultra modern technology while going for the old gag. And I think even just turning this black and white winds up making the joke that much more,
because they're all like 50s
accessible.
Military, but it's right. Is it like the 90s?
Even the
is it the 70s?
Were from the 50s.
Yeah.
Right.
And but and they're sitting in this like, but there was also like pseudo like 70s look, like the scientists where they're dissecting and they're in the bubble helmets and the bubble chairs and like, so it's kind of like when is this like when is this supposed to be? But also Vegas looks very much like the 90s and not maybe the 80s. So it's like all these different
well, even some of the stock footage that they use for New York.
I love we just so blatantly stock footage.
Yeah, I mean, like it's from the 70s. The stock footage is from the 70s because it didn't have the World Trade Center Hotel in it, which would have been there in the 90s.
That's right.
Yeah, well, and actually, what's interesting is seeing the Las Vegas Hilton there with the famous French fry sign. Is very funny because that's the hotel that whatever the Jack Nicholson's Las Vegas character is building his hotel next to, and
that's right.
just seeing, and that's the hotel that is featured in Diamonds Are Forever. So it's the Hilton is a very recognizable imprint.
Well, and speaking of hotels, I'm pretty sure I read that the Galaxy Hotel was actually a demoed hotel in Vegas that they're like, hey, this demo is going to be happening during our shooting time, like, and they timed it where they could actually film it and used the actual destruction of it in, then built their story, at least that corner of it around that destruction.
But the thing is that thread is one of those things that I would have cut just in the script development of having that Las Vegas thread. I would have still had people in Las Vegas. That's fine,
right?
But I would
keep
not
the
have
boxer, but not the development,
right?
Of the hotel.
Yeah, that was super odd. I had no idea why that was there. I have no idea
because it's
why
the Galaxy Hotel and Martians are showing up. So how would a Galaxy Hotel owner react to I don't care.
Although I have to admit that actually was the biggest laugh in the movie for me was from Jack Nicholson's developer character, where he's in the limo with the boxer. And he asks him to do something, give him like $2,000, and the boxer's like, he's like, no, man, I'm not a part of that life anymore. I found Allah, I gave up pork, like I'm not a violent man anymore. I'm not going to do that kind of thing. Then like there's this brief pause. So you gave up pork,
yeah,
and then it cuts to the next scene. For some reason, that was the funniest thing in the movie to me.
Yeah,
just the way that Nicholson delivered it.
Oh. Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is I think that much like Batman Returns, there are those moments that work, that are cute, that are funny, that you remember, and you think of Mars Attacks, and you think of that laugh line. That's a funny line. You think of this moment, that's a funny moment, but it's not cohesive, man. It just doesn't fit together.
I think I also read, I can't remember exactly which role it was. I think it was Donald Kessler that they were going for Michael Keaton to come in to do that role, and you would get then Nicholson and Keaton opposite again each other since Batman, which that I think would have been a much more interesting play, because obviously it's like a wink and a nod, to that initial. It's
interesting you say that too, because that when he turns around and he gives the whoa, I could almost see that when you mentioned Keaton, I could see that in the Beetlejuice whoa.
Yeah.
Sort of vocal inflection. And I think that would have worked pretty well.
Yeah, he's just chewing on a pipe the whole scene, and just, not necessarily. They must be paceful, and it's, because this was also where it's like Pierce Brosnan shows up out of nowhere, and you're like, but why is Pierce Brosnan in this movie? Like, it's James Bond. Although, was he James Bond yet at this point?
Oh yeah. Okay. No, he was fully James Bond by that point.
Oh, this was right after Goldeneye.
Yeah. Okay, because Goldeneye was 95, right? I think 94, 95.
Yes, Goldeneye was 95. This was 96.
So you have James Bond show up in this movie.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and put the question out there. Would this movie have benefited from not having an all-star cast? Do you think it would have played better as the gag because you wouldn't have been paying attention to the names that you were seeing on screen?
Not necessarily. I would say no, because I think half of the gag is these all-star characters playing these simple, dumb roles. Like, like Pierce Brosnan and Martin Short, and everyone's chewing the scenery because that's the kind of film it is, and you kind of can get away with it because it's that kind of a movie. Whereas, not that, that's how I feel. What do you think, Tristan?
Yeah, I'm with you, Darren. I think part of its charm is that it's a cast of 1,000, and I think it's like there's only certain lines that Nicholson could deliver. Like that's kind of where I'm thinking, is that there's certain things that maybe I could agree with John, where like I thought Pam Grier was a little distracting just because it's Pam frickin' Grier and she has nothing to do. And Danny DeVito was a little distracting, but only because they brought him in and then killed him immediately. And unless you're going to pull a Drew Barrymore and Scream, then I don't understand the point of that. I don't know. Like maybe I'm half and half. I feel like if they went with the black and white version that John wants to make, that I'm assuming you're going to shoot on the weekend,
yes,
maybe that would work. Not having a cast of 1,000, but if you're making a completely different movie, I don't know. But with this one, I think part of its charm is that you get to see Michael J. Fox's arm get pulled out. I think that's part of the charm.
That's really grim. That's really, really grim. So you're telling me that you give this movie an extra half star because Jack Nicholson gets stabbed through the heart. That's really, I don't know. That's troubling, man. That's troubling.
Well, I mean, a half star at least.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, am I just being too hard on this? Am I just being...
I don't think you're.
No,
I don't think you're being too hard on it. It's like this movie is very much a Rorschach. I think either you get the premise or you don't. Either you buy in or you don't. And it doesn't mean that you don't get the premise. It just means you're like, this isn't really doing it for me. No, this is. I'm not. This is not a 5-star film to me at all. Not even close. I'm just saying, like, I enjoyed it way. Like, I hated it the first time I saw it. I'm just happy that I enjoyed it more than hated.
Yeah, that's okay. That's fair enough. I wonder though if it, and we've sort of hit on this with some of the discussions here and there, on other stuff. Like, is it just like a lessening? You know what to expect. So does your viewing now wind up being more positive simply because you can't be as disappointed as you were the first time? Make sense?
That's definitely a possibility. I'm that way with a lot of things, like with big franchise films that I have a lot of expectations for. I think two come to mind, and actually they're sequels of a trilogy: Star Wars: Last Jedi and Star Trek Into Darkness. When it's kind of the reverse, where like when I saw Star Trek Into Darkness in the theater, I was like, "What a hulking piece of garbage this is!" And then when I saw it at home, I was like, okay, yeah, like I guess I enjoy being in that world again and seeing these characters, but the movie's still garbage. And so my disappointments have already been made. So maybe that's what it is with Mars Attacks. Absolutely. Like I've already been disappointed once, so how could it get worse?
Right. Just knowing what to expect. And it's, I just, you look at, it's another one of those ones where you just look at all of the talent assembled. And it has everything going for it. Oh, he couldn't make it for 100 million. He made it for 70 million. 100 million was still regarded as a very, very large budget back then.
Like when I looked up the budget for this, I thought it was a mistake for 1996. 70 million, and Independence Day was 75.
Yes,
yeah, that's
nuts. It is nuts. It is nuts because by that point, Cameron had broken the 100 million barrier, but he was like, he had like a special pass to do so. They needed Cameron to make Titanic before the next barrier could be broken for your expectation of movie budgets.
Jurassic Park had a budget of 63 million in 93.
That's, yeah, there's literally no excuse, none whatsoever. It's I don't know. I mean, there's a part of me that wonders, would this work as a smaller scale series of like shorts that they could do on Netflix or appended in front of other movies? I know that we don't really do that with that.
I feel like that would make it even more.
You're trying so hard to workshop this film.
I am. I really am.
I think that would disjoint it even more. Like,
yeah,
again, like you're looking at the backs of the little Topps cards where it's like this one shot and this one scene and this one moment. But that was cool. Again, looking through the Topps cards, because I found way more references than I was expecting. I thought just the general premise was, but like I said, the walking robot, the shrink ray, the burning of the cows, all of that is in the cards, which was really interesting. So, and those are like shot for shot. They look just like the card, which I think is really interesting.
Although you can definitely tell that fire was still it was still a frontier too far for CG at the time.
That is true. That is true.
I also I love how so many movies, especially in the 90s, think that there are just cavernous rooms within the White House.
Yeah, yes.
That the White House is this gigantic mansion with endless rooms.
Right.
Although it is funny, though, like the scene where it's like that little kind of in-between room with the kind of half-dome mirror or half-dome window in the back where...
That's the residence.
Yeah, where they were being shot. Because I recognize it from all of the episodes of West Wing that I saw. And I'm like, oh, because I mean, obviously they, we know what the inside of the White House looks like, but it just felt weird. Like, it's like, is this on the set? Is Jed Bartlett going to walk out and punch that alien? Don't know.
Now that would be a cameo.
That would have been. Wouldn't that have been? But I mean, even that, wouldn't that have been interesting to have? Because, you could have had even Michael Douglas, because he had been in The American President, have him play the president. That would have been fun.
And when did Deep Impact come out? You could have had Morgan Freeman.
Oh my gosh. No, Morgan, Deep Impact wasn't for another 2 years, I think. I want to say that was 98. I could be wrong. It's completely possible that I'm wrong.
Well, the question really then is, when did Armageddon come out?
You're right.
Because
98.
Yes. And Armageddon would have been 98 as well.
Yeah.
Because they were the competing.
That was the battle of the
ants and Bugs Life.
Battle of the Asteroids. Yeah, you had Ants and a Bug's Life. You had, Volcano and Dante's Peak.
Yep.
Yeah.
I still remember Capote and...
In Cold Blood.
In Cold Blood, yeah.
Yeah, I know I saw In Cold Blood. That was the one with all of the Oscar buzz, right?
Oh, you're the one.
Yeah.
No, nobody saw In Cold Blood. Everybody saw Capote.
Okay. Well, you know what? I can't keep them straight anymore. I read the book, so, go figure. But yeah, so Independence Day and Mars Attacks, I guess, are just accidentally, because it wasn't on purpose, they're just accidentally thrown up against each other.
That's true.
In the head-to-head there. So.
Well, and I don't know. I mean, would this have suffered even more if it was summer of 97 and people would have, and because of a lot of the similarity, would have more people have been like, you literally made this because of Independence Day. Look at all these similarities when they were all just coincidence.
I will go out on a limb and I will say it would have played better for two reasons. One, they could have done a couple of tweaks and probably edited,
give it another
a little
pass.
bit more. Yeah, give it another pass. But additionally, if it had been viewed as a purposeful parody after the fact of Independence Day, people would have laughed even harder. And I think that with 97,
maybe given a little grace.
Yeah. With 97 being the Star Wars re-release year, people would have been very much in the mood to have a little bit of fun at the expense of the genre that inspired those movies too. So I think this movie would have wound up being a pretty solid hit in 97 if they could have just held on for a minute and just said, okay, this is, let's hold off and let's play. Like, it's absolutely mind-numbing how studios throughout history never ever learn that lesson, to just be patient, just wait for it. and don't let the board or the business
it came out
lead
December
do anything.
13th. This was like a Christmas time movie. December 13th, 96. Like that would not be the time I would want to watch this movie.
No.
Well, Burton actually said that that's one of the reasons why the skeletons were red and green.
Yeah, because of Christmas.
Well, at least,
Yeah, no.
Okay.
It doesn't really work like that.
No.
But all right. Well, let's go with Tristan. Want to not crush my spirit quite so fast, but no. But Tristan, how would you rank this again? Having seen it not for many years, but again, there's a bit of nostalgia. There's a bit of just enjoying it for what it is. It's not the perfect movie, but how many acts would you give it on a scale of 5?
Yeah, I think this. I think John is right where it's very disjointed. It feels like a bunch of vignettes that don't go anywhere. And yeah, it has a few funny laughs here and there. But, what is this really trying to say? Like, is it satire? Is it not? Is it, what is the message? And are we just trying to have fun? And it doesn't feel cohesive, but I love the spoof on the genre. I loved what they were doing with the aliens and with the military and with the president. I love Jack Nicholson's performance. I loved how he chewed the scenery, and I just loved Nicholson being Nicholson as the president. And there were so many great one-liners in this. I give it 3 stars. And I feel like I'm being generous just because I am nostalgic with the 50s and 60s B movies and the sci-fi and the over-the-top, like how the aliens look, how the lasers look. So I'd say 3 stars. It's something that I think is good, but has a lot wrong with it.
All right. And John, how many rolling boulders would you give it?
Well, this is where I wind up being the curmudgeon and come in with 2. It's just this side of good, or this is the first time I've rewatched it in quite a while. I remembered every single beat, perfectly. I was like, okay, yeah. I've seen this before. I fell asleep the first time I tried to watch it all the way through this time. And, a comedy should at least keep me engaged a little bit. And I think that there's just too much wrong with it and too much disjointed. And I think that this is the sort of thing that is a pet project on the scale of something you do to tinker with something and get it out of your system, and like a little gag reel you show your friends or something like that, just to have fun with it. But just 2 stars from me.
All right. Well, I give this one a 3 as well, which is my highest ranking Burton so far. I'd probably give it a 3.5, just if I did halves, because, and I totally am acknowledging the rose-colored nostalgia glasses that I'm wearing in this moment, but it's definitely a guilty pleasure movie. It's a lot of fun. If I try to compare it too much to like other spoofs and things like that, like Galaxy Quest or other things that like knock it out of the park, yeah, it is nowhere near that. But it kind of makes me sad that it didn't get the summer 97 release it kind of deserved, because I think that would have made it a better picture. But yeah, a lot of fun to pop in. I'm chewing my popcorn from the opening titles and ready to see some red and green skeletons, and it is fun to revisit. And so far, yeah, it's my highest ranking of 90s Burton so far. So
hey, that's great. That's progress. That's wonderful.
Progress. We're going up.
Undoubtedly, Sleepy Hollow is, if we're tracking upward, man. This is going to be great.
We could be. We'll see. But yeah, so Tristan, if someone wanted to talk to you about all of the great podcasts that you are doing, where would they find you?
You can find me at thenerdparty.com. Just just as you can as you're listening to us right now. Go to thenerdyparty.com. Check. You can go to my page. You can find me under hosts. Click on Tristan Riddell. You can find all the links there to my Twitter, to my Letterboxd, to my archive shows. I have some shows, a show that I've done with my wife that I'm very proud of. I have a few Star Trek shows. We're talking about writing in Star Trek. There's also Second Contact, which is a Lower Decks commentary podcast. Everybody should check that out. And write us, as I talked about earlier in the show. Write us and let us know what director you would like us to talk about. John, how about you?
Well, you can find me as Kessel Junkie out there, KESSELJUNKIE. The usual places, but Letterboxd is fun because you only talk about movies over there. And you can find me right here on the network co-hosting a delightful Star Wars show called Aggressive Negotiations that I co-host with Matt Rushing. But Darren, where are people going to find you online?
They can find me on Twitter, Twitch, and Instagram under username Dr. Sci-Fi, DRSCIFI. And next week, they can join us as we finish up 90s Burton with the tantalizing tale of Sleepy Hollow.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.